Hello everyone, Joe Fernandez here, and I'm a previous BlizzCon champion from 2015, but nowadays I do guide work for Skillcapped, as well as creating AWC highlights for RaiderIO. Today, I'll be taking you through my top 5 moments in the third and final cup for the AWC in NA and EU, showcasing what you could expect from these high-level competitors moving into the grand finals during May. At number 5, we have Team Liquid versus CTRL ALT DEFEATED, where it became a 2v2 situation. This game was just super close, as you can see even here, just nothing left in the tank for Liquid. CTRL ALT DEFEATED do a good job of surviving for 8 minutes, Trill having no health left, having to use the Touch of Karma, Samayam no defensive cooldowns left apart from the Alter Time, and Sea-Doo just completely out of mana, kind of stripped of defenses. CTRL ALT DEFEATED as well, I mean they're pretty much out of defenses as well. Rena with no mana, and this series was just so close. I advise you to watch it if you haven't seen it already. And as you can see, the Ret Warrior was struggling to get a kill, Trill just doing his best to try and counter pressure, and then eventually it just became a situation where KZ Fox and Samayam just both go down. Unfortunately for Liquid, they're at a comp disadvantage here, as you know the Fury Warrior is very good at tunneling down the Holy Priest. The Monk kind of just struggles with getting any pressure over onto the Residruid as well. Residruid is kind of really good in these matchups, and here Rena does a great play, putting Trill into a stun cyclone, kind of isolating Sea-Doo, and then comes in, maims up Sea-Doo, and they're able to proc the Guardian Spirit and kind of take him down with that double stun. So really good play from CTRL ALT DEFEATED. At number 4, we have Naptime versus Overload 2v2. Now, this series was also just super close. Again, I highly advise you to watch the series if you haven't, because Naptime were up 2-1 and basically one game from winning. However, in this game particularly, Cookie goes down. They were able to survive for 9 minutes. JT completely out of mana. Oscar and Brunity also out of defensive cooldowns, and it was such a nail-biter of a series. But they land a Hodge over onto JT. Andre doing an excellent triple fear here in order to isolate JT and Brunity, and eventually takes down Brunity. It becomes a 2v2, but unfortunately it wasn't enough, as a fear on Hetsuki forces the trinket, but Oscar takes down Andre. And this series mattered a lot because Overload ended up tying up this game, and then they won, which meant that Naptime actually couldn't make a top 8 finish. So they're not even in the gauntlet, showing how close it is in the EU scene. Now, my number 3 moment will be Game 4 of Liquid versus Tiger Toads in the elimination bracket. Now, Team Liquid were really struggling to deal with this comp, but as soon as they made a strategy change, they were able to just kind of exploit the Warrior Red Druid. They basically went for trying to dampen them and live, which just looked too troublesome, into just playing hyper aggressive mode and just creating 1v3 setups constantly in order to land kills. And they just create this situation where they force all 3 trinkets from the enemy team, as well as the bubble from Calvish, which is kind of an RMP's dream, just because they know that they can create an ideal opportunity to go and land a kill. So I'll just take you through what happens in this deadly setup and why Liquid looks so good as this composition if they're able to get their offensive setups going. And you can see Trill right here looking like he's going to go on the Warrior. He kidney shots him. At the same time, Sea-Doo lands a Chastise onto Kearney, and as you can see, Trill also goes onto Calvish here and looking for a kill on Calvish, since he doesn't have that Divine Shield, who also uses his Blessing of Protection on himself. Meanwhile, Samayam chained the stun with a Sheep on Dazed, and Sea-Doo chained his Chastise stun with a Fear on Kearney. So they just isolate Calvish, force the bop, Samayam dispels it, and then they're able to take him down. And Liquid looked beautiful at this RMP, and it just shows you how good they are when it comes to just creating setups and being able to change, going from a dampening game to just all-out aggression. Coming up to number 2 spot, I'll say Whazz's Clutch Typhoon has to be there. Again, in another close series, and on Game 5, of Echo versus Dubob. These two FMP mirror games were just really fun to watch and super close the entire time. And as you can see here, it kind of looks like Echo are actually on the back foot with Dubob, just forcing out the ice block, getting the Guardian Spirit, and they're just a little bit ahead in this matchup and forcing the defensives from Whaazz as well. And it just always looked back and forth in this matchup. But one thing that Whaazz does arguably better than any other DPS player in my game is that he always finds these kill opportunities when things are not even looking that great for them. And you can see here that Flappers actually doesn't have the trinket. He has the wall, but without the trinket, he's going to be super vulnerable. Reltzer is far back as well, and Whaazz just has a really good sense of positional situations like this. And here, he actually gets a clone on Thesia, kicks the clone, stuns Flappers, and there's a beautiful Typhoon behind the pillar here. And as you can see with Reltzer's positioning, well, kind of see it, he's too far away to be able to just help Flappers in this situation. And even though Thesia trinkets the Cyclone, Whaazz is able to just burst him down with Raikou, and Mare with a beautiful DR stun kind of just solidifies the deal, and they catch a clutch kill in this situation, which helped them win the series 3-2. And my top one play definitely has to be Game 5 of Echo versus Dubob on Sunday's games, where it basically became a 2v2. The teams were so evenly matched, and with both Ferals getting super low on HP, they were able to go down after 7 minutes and 47 seconds. But as you can see, Mare gets put into a sheep. Whaazz really has nothing against the Heart of the Wild and the Bark Skin, but Thesia just explodes him. They stun him up and they take him down as well, creating this 2v2 situation where I would say Echo is actually slightly ahead just due to the defensive corners and a bit of extra mana, whereas Dubob, Reltzer is relatively which can usually mean the end for him here. Thesia also has no ice blocks left, whereas Raikou does. However, because it's a 2v2 situation, he can outlive this, but the biggest issue here is just the mana situation on both healers. Eventually, what happens though is that Mare gets put into a clutch Ring of Frost from Thesia here, which forces Mare to trinket in order to keep Raikou alive and get back in his line of sight. And this is kind of where just the snowball effect just occurs here, where he counterspells Raikou, pushes in for a snowdrift, breaths them both, and then is able to land this beautiful double snowdrift on Mare and Raikou without their trinkets. He bursts down Raikou heavily with the Meteor. Reltzer comes in, uses Fade so he can get a Fear on Mare, and then Thesia sheeps Mare out of this. And obviously the Fear on Raikou was excellent here as well, so it denied Raikou from the CS, which means Mare could have just kind of outplayed this sheep if needed, and it wouldn't have been a guaranteed sheep from Thesia. And then Thesia just closes out the game, beautiful damage, and is able to re-sheep Mare as Raikou drops low, and then they take them out in this incredible best of 5 series where Dubob win this series, which allows them to go into the grand finals, and then they face Overload, win the cup, and is the reason why they are the first top seeding team in EU today as well. That covers my top 5 moments from the AWC Cup 3. Make sure to rewatch those games if you want to see how everything unfolded, and be sure to check out the grand finals from May 23rd to the 25th. I'll be here creating highlights during that time if you're unable to watch the finals play out, but want to see the main plays covered. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.